Kids Playground.
Hooray!
This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey folks, what's up? What's good? Welcome back to the show. How was your week? Hopefully you had a really good week. My week was pretty decent. Had some rough patches, but came through it kind of nicely. Sat down, talked with my therapist. Had a really good talk for the week. Found myself in a pretty decent spot this week. My wife and I are getting ready to travel. We're going to take the RV out, head on down to St. Petersburg, where we used to live at, to do some visiting with our friends, which I think might be long overdue. But my wife is off on Monday, which is Juneteenth, y'all. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. But my wife is off, so we're going to take advantage of that. So what am I talking about today? I usually have a really political podcast. Usually I talk a lot about politics. I just be on some politics. And I mean, I really don't want to talk about politics all the time. I mean, I know we got, Agent Orange getting, indicted or whatever for the document things, the top secret documents. But I mean, really, maybe I'll talk about that later, because people are always talking about politics. Today I want to talk about something different. Now, it's still pretty serious. I mean, it really is serious, because today I'm talking about murder, self-defense, and racism. Okay? It's murder, self-defense, and racism. Because there are some serious issues when it comes to being charged with murder or being charged with manslaughter or self-defense, killing somebody in self-defense. That's a heavy thing. That's heavy to exact on anyone. That's heavy for anybody to have to go through or process, or it's heavy. Taking a life is not an easy thing for most people anyway. I mean, there's some people out there that really clearly, as we can see, have no problem with shooting other people for absolutely nothing. That goes on a lot lately. That's going on a lot lately, like a whole lot lately. I bet you guys didn't know that after the NBA Finals that there was a mass shooting in Denver. I'm not sure if anyone was killed, but it was like 9 people who got shot. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And why is it like this? Well, let's look at it like this. The United States, right? The United States has more gun violence and gun crime than any other place on the face of the earth. We lead the league in that shit. You know what I'm saying? We are the MVP of fucking murder here. And it's just the facts. And the reason that is the condition of the people here, the mental condition of a lot of the people that live here. Mental condition has a lot to play with why people act out, why people lash out, why people get hurt. And you couple that with how easy it is to get a firearm in this country, and that's a recipe for disaster. It just is. It's a cocktail for disaster. There are people out here practicing, is what they're doing. All these mass shootings, there are people out here practicing, is what it is. People get taken into custody, all kind of shit. Been shot 9 people taken into custody. A black dude gets stopped in traffic with no weapon and is shot 40 times. I don't get how that happens. I just don't get how that happens. Oh, wait a minute. It's racism. That's how it happens. It just is. I mean, I hate to make just about everything I talk about race, but man, I'm really sick of being done wrong. I'm really sick of watching white America just run away with the fucking Grammys. I'm sick of watching it. I'm sick of watching my people get killed and then swept away like we wasn't shit. Immediately, they try and make, all right, let's take Jordan Neely, for example, right? Jordan Neely was a Michael Jackson impersonator who was having a bad day on the New York City subway system. And that's all it was, right? He was yelling and screaming, ranting and raving, as a lot of people in the New York City subway system do. You know what I'm saying? I'm from New York, so I can vouch for that, as any other New Yorker can who takes the subway. There's some people down there that's not all the way there. And it's just a way of life in New York. Okay? Now, as he was walking through the subway, there was a man who was an ex-Marine who took it upon himself to restrain Mr. Neely in a chokehold until he was dead. Until he died. Restrained him in a chokehold. Now, this was not self-defense, okay? This was not self-defense. He was not defending himself, nor was he defending everybody else. Because if he was defending himself or anybody else, that would imply that Mr. Neely was causing someone bodily harm, which he wasn't. He was just having a bad day, to which he got choked to death. Now, in the wake of that, if you watch the press, because the press plays, the media plays a heavy role in this also. But right after that, what did they do? They immediately tried to demonize Mr. Neely. And they tried to uplift the gentleman who killed him, because he was a Marine and he's protected the country and so on and so forth. And Mr. Neely has had a, history of this and a history of drug abuse and so on and so on. They try and, they demonize the black victim. And they celebrate the white perpetrator. And that happens a lot. It just does. That's one of the things that I'll be discussing today, is why things like that take place, how things like that take place, what is being done to stop things like that from taking place. What is actually being done? People talk a good game, but that shit is bullshit, because nothing ever gets done. We talk, we march, we do all kinds of shit, but the same shit continues to happen. It continues to happen. How can we get around it? How can we get done? How can we get finished with this? It's going to take a while. Mr. Neely was killed. The gentleman will be charged with manslaughter, not murder. It's going to be manslaughter, which is still a pretty heavy toll. You know what I'm saying? It's still really heavy. Manslaughter is heavy. Make no mistake about it. There's been a few people out there, a few celebrities actually, that have been convicted of manslaughter, done a little bit of time. There was Don King, the boxing promoter, killed a dude in his front yard. Another person, Charles S. Dutton, he used to have a TV show called Rock. He killed a guy and was charged with manslaughter. But where does it, what is it, what are you looking for? What is it, how do you decipher between the two? How do you decipher what is murder and what is manslaughter? What is self-defense killing? How are all these things different but have this same outcome? The answer to that is circumstance. It is the circumstance. Now, what were the circumstances that this gentleman or this person had to lose their life? There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors that come into play when you are trying to determine if a case was murder or if the killing was justified, if it was self-defense. You know, it's happened to a lot of people, man. It's happened to a lot of people that have been put into that situation in a split second, and their whole life changes in that split second. You know, people go out and they go and get revenge killings. That's murder. You know, so I guess we need to figure out what constitutes self-defense. What is self-defense? What is defending yourself? And you'd be surprised at what self-defense actually is. I mean, and take this with you too. Even if it was self-defense, even if you've killed someone in self-defense, you can still be charged with murder. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But he was coming at me. It doesn't matter. And this right here, folks, is where it becomes very important for you to know the law in the state or province that you live in. It is imperative that you learn the law on this, because many people think that just because they're on their property, that gives them the right to, shoot and kill you. And that's not the case. That is not always, you come over here, I'm going to shoot you dead. Then you're going to go to jail for murder, especially if I wasn't doing nothing. I could have been walking up here asking for directions. I could have been walking up here saying that somebody's following me, trying to get me. I could have been walking up here telling you that, the new phone books are out and all kind of shit. You know what I mean? There's all kind of shit that can happen. The factors are very real. The reason for doing things like this is very real. I mean, it really is just a murky, ugly, nasty, just can of worms to deal with murder, or manslaughter, or, someone being killed in self-defense. Because, the prosecution is, you're going to have to prove that the person that killed this person actually killed this person in self-defense. Because now the only thing you have to go off of is this person's word and any witness that may be there. But if there was no witness, that creates a whole new issue. If there are no witnesses. Lots of things play factors. Race definitely plays a factor. But so does gender. Believe it or not. Gender does play a large role in whether or not you are charged of murder, or you're convicted of murder, or you are let go due to self-defense. There are many examples out there. There are many examples of where something was claimed self-defense and was not self-defense, or something that was self-defense was deemed as something other than self-defense. That happens a lot. I will give you one example. I'll give you a few examples. George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was 14 years old and unarmed. George Zimmerman was a grown man and armed. Trayvon Martin was killed because George Zimmerman was afraid. But what was he afraid of? Trayvon didn't have a gun. He was just walking. He was minding his business. I think he was taking a shortcut through a neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I think that was what was happening. And George Zimmerman approached him, tried to detain him, which, you're not the cops. And I believe that was some sort of altercation ensued. And what I believe actually happened is Trayvon Martin was whooping his ass. He was getting his ass whooped. George Zimmerman was getting his ass whooped. And instead of taking the ass whooping like a grown man with some integrity, He bitched out, pulled out his gun, and shot and killed a 14-year-old boy because he couldn't take an ass whooping. And that's what I think happened. But they let him go. They let him go on self-defense. I was defending myself. Maybe Trayvon was defending himself from you. Because that's the way that it seems like to me. It seems that you were the predator. You stalked this young man down. Then you got out and confronted him. When things did not go the way that it was supposed to go for you, you turned around and you shot and killed him. You weren't afraid to kill him then, but you were damn sure afraid to go to jail for the rest of your life. But that's okay because, like I said, a lot of these cases, they don't go the way of black people, not the defendants or the victims. A lot of the times, they're disproportionately in favor of white people. And it's just the facts. And I don't want to turn this into a black or white thing. I really am not trying to do that. But it is just the facts. It's the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts the worst, as my friend Jay would say. I mean, what we... I was in Orlando when that happened. And I just want to say that I don't care who watched the trial. I don't care how whatever lawyer tries to justify it. George Zimmerman killed a 14-year-old boy in cold blood. That was cold-blooded, man. That was cold-blooded. It was because you were afraid to take an ass whooping. But that's something that you're going to have to live with and take to your grave. But somehow I think that you're all right with it. Because we live in an environment where things like that, I guess, are acceptable. And I don't think they should be acceptable. I think that there needs to be some sort of accountability, but instead that young man's family has to sit there and grieve with no closure, with no comfort, and most importantly, no Trayvon. I'm going to take a quick, fast break. When I come back, we're going to talk about it some more. This is the Deron Harris Podcast.
Progressive presents Precious Moments.
Nothing beats driving cross-country in our RV.
This is so much fun, Dad. I don't even need to look at my phone.
It's not the destination, it's the journey. Jinx!
The exchange you just heard didn't actually happen, but it could. Bundle your home and other vehicles with Progressive and you could use the savings to make sure that RV is always ready to hit the road. Who knows, your teenager might actually put down her phone for 5 minutes. It could happen. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Now, back to some real ass shit.
Hey folks, what's good? Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm talking about murder and self-defense. Today we are examining the role of race and gender in cases of self-defense and murder. So what are the factors? What are the factors of what are you looking for when you're trying to or when you're going into a case like this? What are the factors that you're looking for when you're trying to determine if something is murder or if something was self-defense? What are the things that you have to some of the check? Well, these are a few of the things that I've found that people that most people are looking for to try and prove a self-defense case. And I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. When determining if a killing was self-defense or murder, several factors are considered. Here are some of the key factors. 1, unprovoked attack. Okay, number 1 is unprovoked attack, which is pretty self-explanatory. You know what I mean? I didn't do nothing. This dude rolled over to me and started poking on me, and I handled my business. You know, that was an unprovoked attack. that I'm not gonna stand there and let you. I got to defend myself. So the attack must be unprovoked for self-defense to be considered a valid defense. Okay, it's to even be considered, it has to be unprovoked. 2, imminent danger. The threat of injury or death must be imminent for self-defense to be justified. Okay, so you have to be. You're definitely going to get killed. This dude has whooped out a gun, has pulled and cocked back the hammer, and has pointed it in your face and is squeezing the trigger. It's got to be imminent. You know what I'm saying? That this is going to happen. You mean this is gonna take place. Somebody very close to me had something happen to him that was just wrong. He was hanging out in some place. I guess he was someplace where he wasn't supposed to be at, and some dude said that he was going out to get his gun because he was going to kill him. And before that happened, the dude walked out. Before that happened, this person that I know took out a gun and emptied 9 shots in the dude. Now he's in jail forever. So the guy said that he was going to kill him and started walking out to get what he was going to get out of wherever he was. And I guess he felt threatened enough or was scared enough that thought that it was an imminent threat, that he was in imminent danger. So he shot first. Reasonable degree of force. That's what they're also looking for. They're looking for reasonable degree of force. And what that means is the force used in response to the attack must be objectively reasonable. Okay? It's got to be reasonable. You know what I mean? So basically that means if we're tussling around, and something happens and I get the drop on you and I shoot and kill you, but I keep shooting you. That is not objectively reasonable. Okay, that's not reasonable. It's got to be reasonable fear also. The defendant must have an objectively reasonable fear that they were going to be injured or killed unless they used self-defense. Now, this right here goes back to the person that I was talking about. He believed that his life was in danger. If this guy goes out to this car and comes back, there's a very real possibility that he could kill me. What am I going to do? So he did what he thought he should have done or had to do, which is he shot first. That to me, that's a reasonable fear. Somebody says they're going to kill me, but also at the same time, if somebody says they're going to kill me, that's 2 indications of something that I need to do. A, I need to stop hanging out around these motherfuckers right here. And B, I need to leave. I need to leave and go. I just need to go. If you're going to, I'm going out to the car. Well, when you get back, I won't be here. You know what I'm saying? Because I like my life. And I'm sure you like yours, and I don't got that much beef with nobody where I need to go on and be like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. No, I don't have that much beef with people. Okay? Number 5 is innocence. The defendant must be innocent of any wrongdoing leading up to the attack. Okay? Leading up to the attack. That means that you can't come over to my neighborhood, pop a bunch of shit on my block, smack some bitches around and then go back to your neighborhood and play coy when somebody rolls up and try to peel your wig back in your neighborhood, because that was provoked. You came over here popping that bullshit and these motherfuckers came over here and got you, okay? And you killed somebody. That's not self-defense. You provoked that, okay? So it becomes, that again, that's where the water gets murky. You know what I'm saying? It just gets murky. But you went over there and you provoked this. These people was chilling, but you went over there acting like a big shot thinking you was the man, and they killed your ass. Oh, they came after your ass and you had to kill somebody. Well, my friend, I'm sorry, but that's not self-defense. Okay? Proportionality, okay, is the number 6. The use of force must be proportionate to the threat faced. That means if I got some fists up, then you don't come out with a gun, man. That's not proportionate. But unfortunately, that happens more times than not. People put up their hands to fight and end up being killed because the person with the gun doesn't want to fight. Because they're cowards. They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to take the loss. They don't want to take the L. So what do? They make you take the L permanently. You know, some dirt nap. Because somebody doesn't want to be humbled. They'd rather shoot somebody, take a life, and then go try and hide from it. What kind of life is that? And now you're looking over your shoulder, because if you're in the hood and you kill somebody, you rest assured these people, they mans is looking for you. So you need to bounce. If you don't bounce, it's a high probability that you yourself could fall victim to the same fate. And it's just the facts. Number 7 is avoidance, like I was just talking about with the person that I know. Just avoid this shit, man. Did you try to avoid the confrontation? My bad, man. I'm sorry. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. You know, I mean, you're not punking out. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe, but we don't need to escalate all the way up to the point where somebody needs to lose their life, is what I'm saying. We can bring it down. We can talk like men. You know what I'm saying? We can have respect for each other. That works a lot better. Everybody gets to come back another day. And more importantly, we don't lose nobody. Nobody has to grieve. We don't have to go to funerals for shit like that. But so many people are quick to pull out firearms to settle disputes. So quick to want to take a person's life because they're being beat up. I mean, not even shot. You're not in any danger of, you're just having a scrap with this guy because, I don't know, you grabbed his girlfriend's ass or you stepped on his sneakers or whatever it was. This guy doesn't have a gun and all he's going to do is put up his dukes. But a lot of people are cowards and they pull out guns because they're afraid to fight, because they can't fight. They don't want to take the L, like I said. And that just makes for a wild society. I mean, there's a lot of gun violence here in the United States. There really is. I mean, there's more gun violence here than, like I said, than any place else on the planet. There's more gun violence here than anywhere. A lot of people, well, why do you think that is? Well, there's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of reasons why there's more gun violence here than anywhere. And I'm going to go ahead and blame the Republicans. Yes, I'm going to blame you. Yes, I'm going to blame you because you don't advocate for gun control. You don't want any kind of gun control. You don't even want background checks for gun control, for guns. You don't even want to require that. You think it's encroaching upon people's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's what you believe, and I believe that is bullshit. Okay? Because, I mean, what happens is this. This is what's happening. We don't pass any legislation on guns, and then the reason things like this is because they're so readily available. Guns are readily available. It is easier to get a gun. It's easier to get a gun than a gold chain. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to get a gun. You can buy a gun for $200. You can get guns off the street for $100. Yeah, they're so readily available in this country, and this is the real problem. The availability is the problem, yes, is part of the problem. But the other problem is there are so many mentally unstable people in the United States of America right now because of our social and economical status right now, because of what's going on in our country right now. There's so much tension in our country right now because everybody's in everybody's business. Or let me rephrase that. Republicans are in everybody's business. I don't want to make it into a political thing, but it's the truth. They're in everybody's fucking businesses. They're in women's uteruses. They're in everywhere. They're everywhere. If you look there, there's a fucking Republican sitting right there telling, oh, you need to do this instead of that. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But, I am in 100% favor of background checks for people who want to own firearms, including myself. If I want to get a gun, yes, I'm going to subject myself to a mental health check to see if I'm mentally stable enough to possess this weapon. And if I'm not, I'm sorry. Try again in 6 months. Go seek some therapy. Sit down with a motherfucker and talk for a minute. But right now, you can't get one. Especially if you talking about fuck these niggers or these fucking girly boys is running amok down here. Then no, sir, you shouldn't have any guns. I'm sorry, you should be denied guns. You know, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. But if that's who you are, that means you don't have any respect for these people. So that means if you get into any kind of altercation with any of these people, your first inclination is going to be to try to hurt them as much as you can. Because you don't like these motherfuckers. And the same thing on the other side of the tracks, too. And I done heard plenty of you. These crackers better not bring their ass over here. I've heard all kinds of shit like that. You know what I'm saying? This shit is ignorant. We are ignorant. We are some ignorant ass people. We just are. You know what I'm saying? We're just ignorant. We don't care for anyone. We are super narcissistic. We are super arrogant. We do not care about anyone. We don't care about human life. We don't care about nothing. And that's just the way that we're built now. That's just the way that we are now. And, you know, I hate to say it, but I don't really see it changing. I don't see it getting any better. I mean, we can march all we want to. I don't see any of this getting any better. So, avoidance. Those are some of the things to consider when they're trying to determine between murder and self-defense. Courts also consider the reasonable person standard when determining if a killing was self-defense or murder. This standard asks whether a reasonable person in the same situation would have perceived an immediate threat of physical harm, and whether the use of deadly force is justifiable. Damn, in the response to that threat. So basically, if there's a reasonable person, like a rational, like a level-headed dude that says, "Dude, what you did, that's overkill right there. That's crazy business. What you did right there. I mean, I could get self-defense, but that is crazy business." They also look for things like that. But what makes a reasonable and rational person? You know, what makes that? What constitutes that? You know, that jumps all over the place. Now, there's no real statistic on how it breaks down racially. You know, but, you know, it's been broken down that self-defense and murder cases are disproportionately in favor of white people. If a black person wants to file for self-defense, it's highly likely that they may not get it. They may not even consider it. But if a white person files self-defense, they're always given the benefit of the doubt, and okay, we're going to enter the self-defense. But it's not even like it could even happen to black people. Self-defense couldn't even happen to black people. I mean, it just really is. I mean, it's just one of those things. There's been all kinds of things where race has been an issue in prosecuting these things. I mean, and also, like I said, gender as well. Back in 2010, there was a lady named Marissa Alexander, and she fired a warning shot at her husband, at her abusive husband, and what she claimed was self-defense. She was charged with aggravated assault and sentenced to 20 years in prison. That case raised questions about the use of force in self-defense and the treatment of domestic violence victims in the criminal justice system. This lady is being abused. I mean, she's being abused. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. This lady is being abused. She is clearly in fear of her life. And she just fired a warning shot and got 20 years. So many things. In 2005, John McNeil shot and killed a man who was trespassing on his property and threatening him and his son. He was charged with murder and sentenced to life in prison. The case raised questions about the use of force in self-defense and the interpretation of Georgia's stand your ground law. People use that stand your ground law to kill people. You know that, right? They use it to kill people, to be justified in killing people. Oh, I stood my ground. He was attacking me. I stood my ground. He was hostile to me. Well, let me put some things into perspective for you. Historically, white people have been the aggressors, have been the more aggressive. Okay? White people have been more aggressive than black folks. They just have. I mean, they just have. And if you don't believe me, you can look around. Look at all the massacres. Look at all the black massacres that have happened across the country over the past 100 years. I'm not even going to go back to slavery. You know what I'm saying, I'll just say the past 100 years. Shit, the past 75 years. You know what I'm saying? It just, to me, it's just, I don't know how this can't be more streamlined. There's so many things. I mean, I've watched people. I mean, not for murder or anything like this, but I went to traffic court one time, and there was a couple of dudes in there, white guy, black guy, same exact charge, got a DUI, same shit. They fucking threw the book at the black dude. The white guy got a fucking ankle bracelet and probation. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But I do, though, but I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to take it there. You know, there are no specific statistics. No actual statistics to that break it down according to race, but it is important to recognize that race does play a role in how self-defense cases are perceived and prosecuted. For example, stand your ground laws have been shown to disproportionately benefit white defendants and harm black defendants. Additionally, black defendants are more likely to be charged and convicted of murder than whites in cases involving self-defense. That's just the fucking facts. I'm sorry. Racial stereotypes can influence how jurors perceive people. Just the stereotypes, you know. I mean, a lot of cases, you know, you look at the jury and most of the jury is white in most cases. I mean, rarely have I seen, you know, an all black jury. That shit never happens. It's usually mostly white people, which these white people can't. They've never been over here. They can't relate to me. They can't relate to this kid over here. So what do? They stereotype him. They profile him. You know, maybe he's got, you know, a couple of gold teeth. You know, maybe but they profile and they demonize him, they criminalize him right off the bat, and they make him guilty before the trial has even started. He's already guilty of killing somebody, regardless if it was self-defense or not. Back to the man on the train, you know, that was not self-defense. He thought that he was neutralizing a situation. That's what that was. He thought that he was genuinely neutralizing a situation that was potentially harmful. Now, could Mr. Neely have hurt people? Yes, absolutely. But was he? No. And if you were watching this man, if you jumped up and put this man in a chokehold, I mean, you're a Marine. You're trained. You're a trained person. You're trained to recognize certain things. You're also trained how to kill people. They train you how to kill people. They train you how to kill people, and that's what you did. You went back to your training and you killed a person. And that's what he did. He trained to be a Marine, and when he got out and was, you know, living, he wanted to not necessarily be a hero, but he wanted to help. You know, and that's where it comes down. He thought that what he was doing was being helpful to the people on the train. He was neutralizing someone who was threatening on the train. And like I said, I'm from New York. And I've had a bunch of people tell me they was gonna kill me on a train. You know, until you put your hands on me, you rock with what you got. And that's just how it is. But no way am I gonna stand up and put my hands on somebody first when they haven't put their hands on me. I don't have that right. Especially if nothing is happening. You know what I'm saying? Especially if that person isn't grabbing anybody. So that right there, is that manslaughter or murder? Jordan Neely didn't do nothing. In my eyes, it seems a lot like murder. He just jumped on him and choked him out until he was dead. That's murder. I don't give a but they're gonna charge him with manslaughter. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna charge dude with manslaughter. It's just no secret. Race can play a significant role in the outcome of a self-defense case. It just is. It's important to recognize the impact of racial biases and stereotypes in cases like that. Definitely seek legal counsel if you find yourself in a situation like this immediately. There's a lot that happens, that when things like that. And the media, I think I touched on this, I brushed on this, but the media is a motherfucker when it comes to shit like this. And race. Remember that phrase, super predator? Super predator. Super predator. Man, they played that shit out. But they weren't using that word super predator to describe little white kids. They were using that to describe little black kids, to criminalize them even though they may be innocent. I just dress like that. But because I dress this way because of where I live at, and this is just the fashion in my neighborhood, and I might be a straight A student, but now all of a sudden I'm a super predator because of the way that I look. And that's the media. That's the media and how they portray certain people in certain stories. I mean, think about it. What did they do with Jordan Neely? The first thing they did with Jordan Neely and George Floyd, the first thing they tried to do with George Floyd is they brought up all the shit that he'd done. Well, he did this and he did that. He was a criminal here and then he bounced checks over there. Yeah, but did he deserve to die with a knee on his neck? No, man. No, not at all. I don't think so. I don't think your past discretions ought to constitute you being killed. If that was the case, half of us on the planet would be dead. Simple as that. Simple as that. It's their brand of justice. It's what they call justice. And people, we're making our neighborhoods safer again. Really what you're doing is you're trying to put all the black people in jail because you want people to believe that all black people are dangerous. And that's what it is. And that's what it is. I keep saying that. That's what it is. Because that's what it is. Oh, you're just rambling and you're talking. Yeah. But that's what the fuck it is, though. I didn't make the rules. I didn't do that shit either. The media's portrayal of self-defense can influence how public perceives self-defense cases involving race. For example, the media may portray self-defense as legitimate defense only when used by white defendants while portraying black defendants as aggressive and violent. The media's reporting of crime can influence audiences' attitudes about race and ethnicity. For example, the media may report self-defense cases in a way that reinforces racial stereotypes and biases, which can impact the public's perception of the case. Sound familiar? It's because it happens. It's because it happens like that. And that's how they get convictions. By making people believe that this is what happened. I mean, in the case of Ahmaud Marbury, that was hard. That was hard because they chased him down. They chased him down. 3 men chased that dude down, and they killed him. And they killed that boy. But they got what they deserved. You know what I'm saying? They got what they deserved. Which... that better have happened, because if it didn't happen, Rest assured that the rest of the United States, the black United States, we would have been wilding the fuck out. It would have been Rodney King all over again. They would have tore Georgia to pieces. You know what I'm saying? They would have tore Georgia to pieces. And I sit there and sometimes I think about, Rodney King and how just the blatant disrespect and disregard for black lives by the judge and the jury. They were just straight up not guilty to all those men. They were all on camera beating this man within an inch of his life. They showed pictures of this man's face. They broke bones. And they were found not guilty. That's disgusting. We got to do better. We have got to do better, America. And not only that, folks, and I'm going to direct this at black and brown America, okay? We got to do better. But more importantly than that, we together have to make them do better, period. We need to stand united and hold them accountable and make them do better, because if we leave it up to them, they're going to continue to do what they've always been done, which is screw us over, which is put us in jail and lock us up and make money off of us while we're locked up. Another way for them to make money, oppress us, and essentially get what they want. So, need to get together, and we need to make them do right by us. Now, I'm not saying attack nobody. I ain't attacking nobody. I'm just saying all kinds of shit. Stop voting for motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Vote for other people that have our interests in mind. Because right now, I'm going to tell you right now, none of the people running for president right now have any of our interests in mind. The only interest they have is running the country because it's the most powerful person in the world. That's their ambition, to be the most powerful person in the world. That's their goal. They don't care about us, man. They don't give two shits in a bucket about Darren Harris and the shit that I have to go through. They don't give a fuck about me. So why do you think that they give a fuck about you? It's wild. It's wild. And like I said, until we start standing up and do it, it's just going to continue to happen. It's just going to continue to happen. The media can influence individual and shared fears in self-defense across involving race. For example, the media may report on a crime in a way that reinforces the idea that black people are more dangerous than white people, which can impact how white people perceive the threat of violence and their use of force in self-defense. See that? They demonize black people. They make us, we're damn. So if things do happen, white folks are justified in using the self-defense that they thought because, oh my God, they're super predators. Oh my God, they're so hostile. They're violent. They're angry. They're savages. So any force that you use, thank goodness that you were safe, while disregarding our lives, our issues. It seems like to me that the issues of the white person trump all issues of any other person in this country. So before we get to any other issues, we have to settle the white issues first. These issues have to be taken care of first, no matter what, because this is just the way that it is. Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. This is something that I think that if we all got behind that, this is something I really think that we really could change. I think we could change this. And this is my part. This is me doing my part to make people aware. To make people aware. To make people aware. to get people to stand up and protest and stand up to the injustice and question authority and point the finger at the motherfuckers who need the finger pointed at them. Hold them accountable. Put the spotlight on them and all the bullshit that they do. All the bullshit that they spew. This is my effort. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Deron Harris Podcast, folks. Gun violence is out of control in the United States. We got to get it under control. We got to get a handle on it. That's just as simple as that. People are so infatuated with firearms. They're so infatuated with taking life. They're so infatuated with killing. I don't know why. I don't know where the fuck that came from, but I know that it needs to change. I know we need to go in a different direction because in a minute, we're just going to start infighting amongst ourselves. And that's not productive at all. So, all right, folks, I think I'm done for this week. Join me next week when I'll be talking about more bullshit. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. I was thinking about talking about what woke actually is, because don't believe Ron DeSantis, because this motherfucker is so white, he don't know what woke actually means. So I might actually talk about what woke actually is on the next podcast. But don't hold me to that because I like to jump around from subject to subject. So I think that's going to do it. I want to thank my wife and my parents for being the best family. I want to thank my kids also for being the best family that I have. I want to thank my best friend for giving me the opportunity to do this. Thanks, Jay, for being that force of positive reinforcement in my life. I want to thank Gentry Thomas for giving me the opportunity to put my podcast on the platform. I am really grateful for that, and I want to thank my listeners who continue to listen. I want to thank people who have listened and stopped listening, and I want to thank the future listeners of the Deron Harris Podcast. So I think that's going to do it for me this week, folks. Join me next week where I'll be talking about more bullshit. So until then, folks, you have a good week, and I'll see you later.